Good morning, everybody. Here we are again, still at my house, because I actually made this video the same time that I made the one for yesterday. So as we talked about yesterday, we're doing these 2 days, doing our morning exercises here at my house, because this is just sort of all I could do today. And you will have days like that as these weeks go on. So know that that is okay. If we're talking one day during our morning chats and you say, you know, Kim, I just couldn't get that math done yesterday. That's okay. That's all right if you say, you know, yesterday I was feeling anxious, or I was feeling tired, or I was just kind of upset about some things and I didn't get a lot of my work done yesterday. That is okay. And it's also okay for moms and dads too, because everyone is kind of dealing with a lot and it'll kind of go up and down. So just know that all of that is okay. And I have to be okay with this today, that this is how we're going to do our morning stretches. And so this will just be okay. Okay, so find yourself a nice spot on the floor, get comfortable, and get in your mindful body. Remember, back straight, let your core do the work, sit up nice and straight, your head stretching up to the ceiling, and just sit in this space for just a second and get your body settled. Very good. Now we're going to start. Do you remember at school where we take our hands, our fingers, and we start at the tips of our ears and we work our way down? We go down to the tips of our ears and give just a little squeeze. It not enough to hurt, but just enough that you feel a little pressure there. You can try that again. Start at the top and just kind of roll your way down, all the way down to your earlobes. A little squeeze. Very good. Now we're going to do some twist. You go put your legs out straight, you go cross one over the other. Now, you twist your body the other way. So if this leg is crossing over, you're going to twist your body this way. And just hold that for a minute. Good. Now we're going to go the other way. We're going to take this leg, cross it over, and our body's going to twist the other way. So I'm kind of putting my elbow against my knee right here and giving a little twist like this. Now we're going to put our legs out straight. And we're going to lift our arms straight up to the sky, nice straight back, and then come forward just as far as you can, okay? Just come towards your toes. You can flex your toes back and point them and just lean so you're getting a nice stretch here. Okay, very good. Now we're going to do the butterfly again. So you're going to take your knees, hold onto your feet, and just kind of bounce your knees. Then I give a nice stretch in your hips. Now take your nose and try to come all the way down and smell your toes. Yuck. And come down and smell your toes. All right, now. Okay, very good. We sit back up, get ready for our book. And again, I'm here at home, so I do not have the calendar. But it is April 2nd. So that is the date that you can practice writing, April 2nd, 2020. Also know that that can be written as 4/2/20, because January, February, March, April, 4th month, 2nd day, 2020. We are going to finish our book about Abraham Lincoln. This is about young Abraham Lincoln before he became president. Okay, he was our 16th president, and we're going to learn all about him as we continue on through our Civil War U.S. history study. But I wanted to start with this because this starts with him as a boy, and in fact it's called Abe Lincoln, the Boy Who Loved Books. So we're going to read the second half of this book. So what happened yesterday, where we left off, is where his mom passed away when he was 9. Okay. A year limped by. His father went to find a wife. He brought back a widow with 3 children, her heart so wide she took in Abe and Sarah as her kin. So kin is another vocabulary word that you may not know, K-I-N. That means like family. So she took in Abe and Sarah and loved them just like her own children. And she owned books. She let Abe read when chores were done. Once more, their house of logs became a home. She sent the children back to school. Abe wore 2 short buckskins and a raccoon cap. He drew his letters with a turkey buzzard quill. Do you guys remember writing with the quill? We did that earlier when we studied colonial times, and we did some writing with the feather, with the quill pen. So he did his with a turkey buzzard feather, or a turkey buzzard quill. Abraham Lincoln, his hand and pen, he will be good, but God knows when. I'm going to read that again. Abraham Lincoln, his hand and pen, he will be good, God knows when. All right, that is a quote. He learned to add, subtract on planks of wood, but most of all, he loved to read, win spelling bees, spin yarns, and tell tales. So he's loving to add and subtract and do math. When school was shut, Abe hired out to farmers. His father kept the earnings for the family. Abe split rails, dug wells, chopped trees, but all the while he worked, he yearned to learn. So he really wanted to learn. So while he was out there chopping down trees, he really just wanted to be in school. To anyone who'd listen, he liked to say, the things I want to know are in books. Once rain leaked through the cabin roof and soaked a book he had borrowed. For 3 hot days, Abe pulled stalks of corn in his friend's field to pay him back. So he had this book that he borrowed, and then the rain soaked it, so he had to do something to earn the money back to pay him back for the book. When Abe plowed, a book sat in his back pocket. At each row's end, he'd take it out and read. His horse would wait for him to turn the page. The neighbors shook their heads and called him lazy. But was he really being lazy? He wasn't really lazy, was he? He really just, his mind was elsewhere. He just wanted to read. They did not understand this bookish boy. Abe knew he must move on out of the wilderness. Splitting rails and plowing land was not his dream. At 19, he pulled a flatboat down the river, saw people in places beyond backwoods, saw black men, women, and their children bound in chains. A sign above their heads read, auction block. So we will talk about that more next week when we get into slavery. A life for sale, like hatchet, axe, or plow. Abe knew it was unjust to own another. So we will get into slavery more next week, but that's what they're talking about here. New Salem, Illinois was where Abe settled. 100 folk or more lived in this place. He hired on to run the general store. Folks like to tell that once he overcharged someone 6 cents, but Honest Abe walked miles to give it back. So that was his nickname, Honest Abe. And so they're saying that he was so honest that one time he overcharged someone 6 cents and he ran miles to give them back the money. Even here, Abe was asked to prove his worth with brawn, not brains. So brawn, that means like muscle. So he was asked to prove his worth with what he could do with his muscles, not his brains. The owner of Abe's store set up a wrestling match against the leader of a wild and rowdy gang. Reluctantly, Abe took Jack Armstrong on. Some said that Abe pinned Jack to the floor. Others swore that Armstrong beat Abe with a trick. But when Jack saw Abe's strength, he shook his head, and they became close friends in years to come. So here they are wrestling around. By firelight, he studied law without a teacher. Soon he became a lawyer in the courts. Abe saw that words could free free or jail a man. He found that words could change the way folks thought. When politics began to call his name, Abe aimed his words at wrongs he'd like to right. So he focused his thoughts and his words on things that he felt like were wrong or unjust, things that weren't the way they should be, and he focused on trying to say and do things that would make those right, that would fix the problems. Friends said that he should run for public office. He tried for Congress first, and then the Senate. At last, he ran for the highest office in the land. So what is the highest office in the land? Abraham Lincoln, born in a log cabin, child of the frontier, head in a book, elected our 16th president. From the wilderness to the White House, he learned the power of words and used them well. So he came from very humble beginnings, but he became the president of our United States, the 16th president. So now in your packet, you had it's a small, has a coloring sheet and a sentence. Some of you guys have it in print and some of you have it in cursive. So this is going to be your writing practice. So you'll see, first you trace the dotted lines just to get the feeling of the words and practicing the letters, either in print or cursive. And then after you've practiced tracing the dotted lines, then it gives you space below to copy that sentence. You probably have space to copy it twice. So that will be your handwriting practice for today. And then if you want to, you can color the picture. You don't have to. Okay? Talk to you later.